Mo Volans, and in this video I'm going to be taking a look at the Lindell 354E. The 354E is a mastering grade multi-band compressor based on Lindell's faithful emulation of the classic Neve 2254. It'll give you all the original tone and character of this Neve unit, but has evolved into a 3-band dynamics toolkit. The plugin truly sports a wealth of features, and amongst these you'll find an intuitive crossover system, sidechain filtering, MS processing on each band, and innovative nuke and Neve modes that'll take you from detailed mastering setups to extreme creative compression for tracking and mixing. We'll be taking a look at all of these features and more in 3 separate mix scenarios, and remember, you can follow along with anything I'm doing here by downloading our fully functional 14-day trial from the Plugin Alliance website. But now let's take a listen to the Lindell 354E in action and see how it handles some drums. So here I've got an acoustic drum kit that's part of a very simple 3-part mix. I want to add some focus and energy to the kit using the 354E. So let's start by listening to the drums without the 354E engaged, and then we'll start to set things up. Things are sounding pretty good here, but the first thing I want to focus on is the low end. So let's go ahead and engage the 354 and also engage the low end band. We can then solo this band and set our frequency using this parameter here. I'm quite happy with about 200 Hz. So let's go ahead and start adding some compression. I'm going to do this by reducing the threshold until we see gain reduction in the meter on the left, and then I'm going to compensate by adding gain. I'm going to go a little bit above and beyond here to make sure that the low end is pumped up. I've got moderate attack and recovery times and a really easy ratio so that we're just compressing things slightly. Now this is a good start, but we now want to balance things out with some mid and high band treatments. You can see that we're set from 208 Hz to 2.84 kHz. This means that everything in the mid band is going to be 200 to 2.8, and 2.8 and above is going to be our high band. So let's go ahead and engage the mid band. You can see that I've used a slightly more aggressive ratio here, but with similar gain and threshold settings, and auto recovery and moderate attack. If we solo this, we can hear the snare. And this band is really bringing that snare out. But now our high end is a little lacking, so let's go ahead and engage the high end. Again, a slightly more aggressive ratio, an auto recovery, and quite a fast attack is used. We've also used the Neve function, which is a sidechain filter that gives us an even compression across the entire frequency range. Let's take a listen without the 354E engaged. We've added energy and punch where it counts. In this example, we're going to take a look at a guitar track that just needs more life breathing into it. I want to add high end and bite so it shines through in the mix, but I also want to control the lows as it's a little muddy. Let's take a listen to the guitar and I'll walk through exactly how I set things up. So this is a really good start and it's definitely brighter. I've controlled the lows by adding quite a lot of compression, but not dialing the gain up to compensate for this. The mids are then pushed slightly with an easy ratio, and the high end is pushed with quite a lot of gain above 3.3 kHz. This all results in a much brighter patch, but one thing I wanted to show you here is the nuke mode. So let's engage that. This is going to increase gain to the whole unit, giving us a much more extreme effect. Now I realised by kicking this effect in, it makes everything louder, and this is exactly what I wanted in my mix, but you can compensate by using the output trim or the master gain here. It's completely up to you. For this final example, I've combined drums, guitar, and a new bass part to make an ad hoc mini mastering session. I've then placed the 354E on the master output before some basic limiting, but bar this, there's really no other mastering processors in place. I've used the 354E for a few different tasks here. I've controlled the mono low-end mix, I've defined the mids, and I've also increased stereo width in the high end. So let's take a quick look at this patch and explore how I've done that. For the low band, we're treating 196 Hz and below in mid mode. So this means all the mono information down here is being compressed. I've used a light ratio and auto recovery. Moving up to the mid band, we're using traditional stereo compression here, and this is just making sure that everything between 196 and 2.5K is behaving itself nicely. The high band is really key here. We're treating only the stereo information, and we're using a reasonably high ratio. Again, I'm using auto recovery, but I've pumped the gain up pretty high here. That means all the stereo information in our mix, our overheads, our reverbs, our room sound is brought to the fore and really livens things up. I've also used a sidechain filtering at about 98 to 100 Hz to ensure that we don't get any pumping artifacts. Let's take a listen now to the master with and without this patch engaged. We've really livened the mix up, added some analog style harmonics, and made sure that everything is being controlled well. This is exactly what you want from a mastering grade processor, but as you can see, the 354E works equally well in mixing situations as it does in critical mastering and bus treatments. To check out this plugin for yourself on your own mixes and masters, get yourself over to the Plugin Alliance website and download the fully functional 14-day trial. I hope you've enjoyed checking out the Lindell 354E, and I'll see you next time.